This is a complete work of fiction. The content described has no relation whatsoever to any real persons, organizations, nations, or events.
Neuron Forge, an AI startup in Tokyo. Kenichi Sato from the sales department was summoned to the president's office one morning. Sato, do you know any outstanding researchers at our competitor, Quantum Nexus? The president slid a single profile across the desk. It read, Dr. Emily Carter, Senior AI Research Scientist. She is world-class when it comes to optimizing large language models. I really want to bring her to our company. Headhunting, right? That's correct. She is coming to Tokyo next week for an international AI conference. I don't want to miss this opportunity. Understood. Sato, the president spoke with a serious expression. I want her head. Sato nodded deeply. Yes, I feel the same way. I want to secure her head before the competitors do. I'll do everything I can. When you meet her, don't hold back, the president continued forcefully. Tell her directly, our company wants your head. In English, exactly like that? Of course, being straightforward shows sincerity. Understood. A few days later, in the lounge at the conference venue, Sato spotted Emily. He handed her his business card and relayed the president's words verbatim, one by one. Our CEO wants your head. Emily froze for a moment, her hand holding the coffee cup stopping mid-air. Excuse me? Sato continued with full confidence. Yes, he has wanted your head for months. In return, we promise to give you our best service. Emily's eyes widened even further. He says you have the best head in the industry. That's why he is so looking forward to your oral presentation next week. Several native English speakers who had been chatting nearby suddenly turned to look in their direction. Only Sato had no idea why. After all, he genuinely believed he had translated the Japanese phrases beautifully into English. Emily slowly set her coffee cup down. She looked at Sato's perfectly earnest face, then smiled faintly. It seems your company prefers lip service to mere flattery, and since your company has many jobs all over the world, I guess I will be assigned to the French one. Sato nodded deeply, completely missing the implication. Yes, he beamed with full confidence. Our CEO is very honest and wants to expand globally. We will definitely send you to Paris. Please come. I am expecting. Emily blinked, slowly processing his final words. Excuse me?
Have you ever wondered what happens when a high-stakes, aggressive recruitment strategy gets literally translated into English, word for exact word? Well, get ready, because today's explainer is going to take us through one of the most spectacular linguistic train wrecks you will ever see. We're diving into a fascinating piece of source material that perfectly captures the absolute chaos that ensues when corporate ambition completely ignores cultural nuance.
So let's just dive right into it. What we're breaking down today is actually a brilliantly awkward fictional entrance exam question created for Tokyo Science University. The scenario asks students to translate and continue a story about a Japanese AI startup trying to poach a top researcher. But what happens when straightforward corporate jargon meets accidental double entendre? As we're about to see, the answer is a profound, incredibly awkward HR nightmare.
All right, part one, the headhunting mission. Picture this. We're at Neuron Forge, which is a fictional AI startup based in Tokyo. The CEO has called a sales rep named Kenichi Sato into his office for a high-stakes headhunting mission. The target of this corporate espionage is Dr. Emily Carter. She's a senior AI research scientist at a competitor called Quantum Nexus, and she is absolutely world-class when it comes to optimizing large language models. The CEO knows she's coming to Tokyo next week for an international AI conference, and he wants her on his team.
So the CEO gives Sato his directive, and he says it with absolute deadpan seriousness. I want her head. Now, you have to understand, in the context of Japanese business idioms, this is a forceful but totally understood way of saying, I want to headhunt her or I want to recruit her. Sato, being a loyal employee, nods deeply and agrees to secure her head before the competitors do.
And right here is the fatal flaw in the CEO's plan. Sato actually asks if he should deliver this message in English exactly as it was phrased. The CEO insists. He genuinely believes that straightforward sincerity, delivering the raw, unfiltered Japanese idiom in English, will show how serious they are. He is completely blind to the linguistic danger of translating idioms verbatim. He tells Sato, do not hold back. Tell her directly.
Which brings us to part 2, a catastrophic introduction.
Fast forward a few days. We're in the bustling lounge of the International AI Conference venue. Sato spots Dr. Emily Carter. He walks right up to her, looks her dead in the eye, and with total earnestness delivers his opening line, "Our CEO wants your head." Just let that hang in the air for a second.
So, how exactly does this land? Well, Emily's reaction is exactly what you'd expect. The source text beautifully describes how she just freezes. Her hand, holding her coffee cup, simply stops midair. She manages a stunned, "Excuse me?" The tension between Sato's earnest professional delivery and Emily's complete shock is just incredible. But Sato? Oh, he doesn't stop there. Because this single line builds into an avalanche of rapid-fire blunders. First, want your head. Corporately, he means recruit you. To Emily, it's severe inappropriateness. Next, Sato says, in return, we promise to give you our best service. He means top compensation and benefits. But in this context, it's another highly inappropriate double entendre. Finally, to seal the deal, Sato adds that the CEO thinks she has the best head in the industry, which is why he is so looking forward to her oral presentation next week. He literally means her speaking event, but linguistically, he has just compounded the worst possible HR violation imaginable. Talk about a massive communication gap, right? Sato genuinely believes he has translated these Japanese phrases beautifully into English. He's standing there beaming with pride. But Emily's perception is a shocking, entirely inappropriate proposition. The source even notes that several native English speakers nearby suddenly turn to stare at them, but Sato has absolutely no idea why. Moving right along to part 3, the witty counterattack. Now, the source material actually includes this amazing model answer section, showing how a genius AI researcher handles a situation like this. Emily slowly sets her coffee cup down. She looks at Sato's perfectly earnest, oblivious face, and she smiles faintly. She doesn't scream. Instead, she decides to play the game. She replies, "It seems your company prefers lip service to mere flattery." The genius here is incredibly layered. She drops the idiom lip service, which formally means offering insincere agreement or empty talk, but contextually, it is a brilliant, biting callback to Sato's accidental innuendos. She is expertly using English idioms to match his accidental inappropriateness with some very intentional, sharp wit. But oh, she is not done yet. She leans right into this corporate pitch, escalating the wordplay. She says, and since your company has many jobs all over the world, I guess I will be assigned to the French one. This is just a masterful play on words. The French one completely contrasts a global corporate office location, like being assigned to the branch in France, with a well-known, highly inappropriate slang phrase. It relies entirely on cultural and linguistic nuances. It's a joke that requires a deep understanding of English slang, which means a literal translator like Sato is guaranteed to miss it entirely. And that leads us to part 4, the final misunderstanding. Okay, so Sato has just been handed a literal masterclass in sarcastic, double-meaning English wordplay. So how does he respond to Emily's joke? Does he finally catch on? Does he realize the gravity of what he's been saying for the last 5 minutes? Of course not. He misses the implication completely. He takes the French one 100% at face value. The text tells us he nods deeply and beams with full confidence. He tells her, yes, our CEO is very honest and wants to expand globally. We will definitely send you to Paris. He is thrilled. He legitimately thinks he just successfully negotiated a global placement for his new top-tier recruit. And then, riding incredibly high on this totally unearned confidence, Sato delivers his final spectacular closing line. Please come, I am expecting! This perfectly illustrates the absolute danger of missing a single grammatical object in English. Sato means, I am expecting it, or I am looking forward to it. But by dropping the object of the sentence, he steps right into another trap. Because in English, when you say I am expecting with no object, it means exactly one thing. I am pregnant. And with that, the whole narrative comes beautifully, hilariously full circle. Emily just blinks, slowly processing his final words. And just like at the very beginning of their interaction, she is left utterly bewildered, staring at him and simply says, "Excuse me?" While this is a brilliant, funny piece of fiction, it leaves us with a huge takeaway for the real world. When navigating global business, is mere literal translation ever really enough? As this explainer highlights, words are really just the surface. True communication requires translating the culture, the context, and the nuance. Otherwise, your CEO's demand for straightforward sincerity might just result in the most inappropriate job offer in corporate history. It really begs the question, what seemingly innocent phrases are sitting in your company's translation pipeline right now, just waiting to cause an international incident? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and remember to always look for the nuance behind the words.
I want you to imagine, just for a second, the absolute highest stakes business meeting of your entire career.
Oh, the kind that keeps you up at night.
Exactly. Like you are walking into a crowded room and your sole objective is a do-or-die recruitment pitch. You have one shot to land the most crucial industry-defining talent available.
Right.
Now, I want you to imagine accidentally turning that critical pitch into a wildly inappropriate, cringe-inducing comedy of errors. And the kicker, the entire disaster happens simply because you relied on a literal word-for-word translation.
I mean, it is the ultimate nightmare scenario for anyone operating across borders. And the terrifying part is really the illusion of success.
What do you mean by that?
Well, you walk into the room fully believing you are communicating flawlessly, right?
Oh.
But the message actually arriving in the listener's brain is just completely detached from your intent.
Yeah, and we are dissecting that exact nightmare in today's deep dive. We're looking at a highly unusual pair of source texts.
Yeah.
The first is a short narrative detailing this botched corporate poaching attempt by a Tokyo-based AI startup. And the second is the model answer sequel that actually resolves the narrative. But the stakes of this conversation rely on a very specific piece of metacontext. This story is not, a corporate training module or a comedy sketch.
Right, which you would think it is when you read it.
Yeah, but it is actually presented as a predicted entrance exam question for the Tokyo Institute of Science.
And that specific detail completely changes how we have to read the text. We aren't just critiquing a fictional salesman's bad day, We are reverse engineering what one of the top STEM universities in the world considers the ultimate test of human intellect and communication.
So our mission today is to tear this disastrous cross-cultural corporate exchange down to the studs. We need to explore the immense, really perilous gap between having a vast vocabulary and possessing true linguistic fluency.
Right, and to do that, we have to move beyond just laughing at the awkwardness. We really need to examine the mechanics of language itself.
The nuts and bolts of it.
Exactly. We'll be looking at the cognitive friction between semantics, which is the literal dictionary definitions of words, and pragmatics.
Pragmatics being how context and culture actually shape the meaning.
Spot on. How the physical environment changes what words do.
Okay, let's set the board here. The story opens in Tokyo at an AI startup called Neuron Forge. The president of the company summons a sales department employee, this guy Kenichi Sato, into his office. And Sato is given a very specific target. Neuron Forge wants to poach a heavy hitter from their biggest competitor, a company called Quantum Nexus.
Yeah, and the target is Dr. Emily Carter. The text highlights her as a senior AI research scientist, and it specifically describes her as world-class at optimizing large language models.
Huge deal.
Massive. And the timing of this directive is really tight because Dr. Carter is actually flying into Tokyo the following week for an international AI conference.
I like to think of this dynamic like a high-stakes professional sports draft. Neuron Forge is the scrappy underdog team operating on a fraction of the budget.
Right, they're the little guys.
Yeah, and they are trying to steal the MVP quarterback from a rival legacy dynasty just to secure their own championship run. For a little startup, landing the architect of the competitor's technology is a company-making move.
It really is. But the deeper layer here is the structural irony of the firms involved. Neuron Forge is an artificial intelligence company.
Right.
Their core product revolves around natural language processing. They literally build mathematical architectures designed to teach machines how to parse human communication, recognize context, and generate appropriate responses.
And yet, the human leadership of this AI company is about to fail spectacularly at the exact task they are trying to automate.
Precisely. I mean, they understand the mathematics of language, but they are completely blind to the messy sociological reality of it.
And that blindness becomes so obvious the second the president gives Sato his marching orders. He tells Sato to headhunt Emily before the competition can close in, but he uses a very common Japanese idiom for aggressive recruiting.
Which translates literally into English as, I want her head.
Right. I want her head. Now, if we look at the mechanics of Japanese corporate communication, that phrase doesn't trigger any alarms, does it?
Not at all. In a high-context culture like Japan, idioms rely heavily on shared, unspoken understanding. So within that cultural container, I want her head, simply signals utmost priority. It just means secure this hire at all costs.
But Sato, to his credit, he actually hesitates. He asks the president if he should deliver that phrase verbatim in English when he finally meets Dr. Carter.
And the president insists that he must.
Yeah, he does. And the justification the president gives is that being completely straightforward and literal demonstrates sincerity.
Which is just... This is where the structural failure really begins. The president is operating under this widely held but entirely false premise.
The idea that literal translation equals honesty.
Exactly. The idea that raw, unfiltered words are somehow more sincere. It's like handing someone a bag of flour, a carton of raw eggs, and a bag of sugar, and saying, here's your birthday cake.
Just giving them the groceries.
Right. I am being sincere by giving you the unvarnished components. The raw ingredients are technically accurate, but without the chemical transformation of the baking process.
Which in this case is the cultural context.
Yes, exactly. Without that context, the intended result is completely ruined.
The raw ingredients actually become toxic. Which brings us to the ambush at the conference venue lounge. Sato spots Emily. He marches right up to her, hands her his business card, and just delivers the unbaked cake.
Oh, here we go.
He says, verbatim, our CEO wants your head.
You can practically hear the oxygen getting sucked out of the room.
But the cascading failure doesn't stop there. Sato follows it up with, in return, we promise to give you our best service.
Oh, no.
And then, completely brimming with confidence, he adds, he says you have the best head in the industry. That's why he is so looking forward to your oral presentation next week.
I mean, it is just a masterclass in catastrophic translation.
The scene the source text paints is agonizing. Emily freezes, her coffee cup is just stopped midair. Native English speakers standing nearby immediately stop talking and turn to stare at them.
Because it sounds insane.
Completely insane. But Sato is entirely oblivious. He is standing there, radiating pride over his flawless, dictionary-accurate execution of the boss's orders.
He has absolutely no idea the building just collapsed behind him.
I genuinely struggle to buy this part of the narrative, though. I mean, Sato is framed as a seasoned sales professional. If you are operating at the level where you're poaching elite AI scientists, how do you not run these phrases through a basic sanity check?
It's a fair question.
Right. More importantly, how does a human being stand in a room full of visibly shocked people and just fail to process their facial expressions?
It seems implausible until you analyze the hierarchy of the environment he operates in. You have to look at the mechanism of authority in a traditional Japanese corporate structure.
Okay, unpack that for us.
Well, the president didn't offer a suggestion. He gave a direct, explicit order to use those exact words to convey sincerity. For an employee in Sato's position, modifying the boss's words isn't seen as localization, it's seen as insubordination.
So the directive creates this set of cognitive blinders. He isn't reading the room because he isn't really looking at the room. He is entirely focused on executing the command.
Right, and those blinders prevent him from recognizing the violent shift in pragmatics. When you take the figurative concept of wanting someone's head and drop it into a low-context language like English, you strip away the protective cultural container.
It stops being a business idiom.
Exactly. It reverts to its literal violent meaning. It sounds like a cartel threat. And then he accidentally strings together best service, best head, and oral presentation.
Which, in a vacuum, are standard business or academic terms.
True, but sequenced together in modern conversational English, they generate massive, completely unintended sexual double entendres.
It's the linguistic equivalent of plugging a high-voltage appliance into the wrong international outlet without a power converter. Like, the raw energy is there, but you just start a fire.
That's a great way to put it.
So how does the target of this disaster actually react? Because this is where we transition to the second source text, which is the model answer designed for the exam.
Right. The exam prompt requires the student to write the idealized response from Dr. Carter. It's meant to demonstrate how a true master of communication handles a breakdown of this magnitude.
And instead of throwing her coffee at him or calling security, which I might have done, Emily slowly sets her cup down. The text specifically notes that she looks at Sato's perfectly earnest face.
That detail is key.
Yeah, she processes that he is completely clueless, smiles faintly, and just leans into the skid. She replies, "It seems your company prefers lip service to mere flattery."
Such a good line.
And she follows up with, "And since your company has many jobs all over the world, I guess I will be assigned to the French one."
It's a phenomenal display of cognitive agility.
It's verbal judo. Instead of meeting Sato's wildly inappropriate, aggressive phrasing with defensive anger, she uses the momentum of his blunder to playfully disarm the threat. She flips the double entendres right back onto him.
And the underlying mechanism of her response is what makes it so brilliant. Dr. Carter displays incredibly high emotional intelligence.
Because she's reading the whole situation, not just the words.
Yes. She doesn't merely process the semantic value of the words Sato is saying. She analyzes the visual data. She looks at his earnest face and calculates that his hostile words simply do not match his benign physical demeanor.
She deduces that it's a systemic translation error, not a personal insult.
Exactly. She separates the vocabulary from the intent. And then she actively chooses to play the game on the very field where he just stumbled.
By using lip service, which means empty talk, but physically references the mouth.
Right, and making a joke about the French one.
Yeah.
She deploys advanced wordplay. And wordplay is really the ultimate stress test of linguistic fluency because it requires the brain to hold two conflicting contextual frameworks simultaneously.
Something machines really struggle with.
Completely. A literal translation algorithm cannot easily process a double entendre because it relies on the cultural shadow of the word, not just the dictionary definition.
I mean, if you've ever tried to tell a joke in a second language you were just learning, you know exactly how high that barrier is. You can know all the grammar rules perfectly, but the humor completely evaporates without the cultural anchor.
Which is exactly why Sato's reaction to her joke is the final nail in the coffin.
Right, because Sato misses the implication entirely. He takes her joke about being assigned to the French one completely literally. He just beams with confidence, loudly agrees that his CEO intends to expand globally, and promises to send her to Paris.
He is still completely trapped inside the semantic vacuum. He is processing the data token by token, totally unaware of the subtext.
And because he thinks he has successfully closed this massive deal, he delivers his parting words. He enthusiastically tells her, "Please come, I'm expecting."
Ooh, the ultimate syntactical collapse.
He intended to say, "I'm expecting you," meaning he is looking forward to her arrival at his company. But by dropping the object pronoun, he accidentally declares to this world-class scientist, "I am pregnant."
Just incredible.
The narrative ends with Emily blinking, slowly processing the sheer density of the failure, and uttering a baffled, "Excuse me."
And, you know, the grammatical error there is actually deeply rooted in his native language structure.
Oh, really? How so?
Well, in Japanese, dropping the subject or object pronoun is incredibly common. The context of the sentence usually makes it obvious who's doing what to whom. But English syntax is rigid.
It demands the pronoun.
Exactly. When you drop the object you from the verb expecting, the verb shifts from a transitive action to an idiom for pregnancy. It is a tiny structural omission that creates a catastrophic change in meaning.
This really brings us to the reality check of the episode. We have to look at why a prestigious university, the Tokyo Institute of Science, is using a borderline inappropriate corporate sitcom script to screen its applicants.
It does seem strange at first glance.
Right. I have to question the audacity of putting accidental sexual innuendos on a high-pressure science entrance exam.
It seems counterintuitive for a STEM institution, absolutely. But it actually reveals a profound understanding of the modern technological landscape. They are not testing vocabulary or verb conjugation. They're testing a concept called pragmatic competence.
Okay, let's define that for the listener. What separates pragmatic competence from just being good at grammar?
Pragmatic competence is the ability to use language effectively in a socially appropriate way. It's understanding how the physical environment, the relationship between the speakers, and the cultural norms actually dictate meaning.
So it's not just knowing the rules, but knowing how to play the game.
Yes. A student with high grammatical competence can read a dictionary and pass a multiple choice test. A student with high pragmatic competence can read a room.
So to ace this exam, the applicant basically has to reverse engineer the entire social dynamic. They have to explain why Sato's dictionary-accurate translation is socially disastrous and why Emily's idiomatic layered response is socially masterful.
Exactly. And the reason a top-tier science institute cares about this is because global communication is the actual bottleneck in modern technology.
Think about your own workplace or industry, really.
Oh, for sure. The friction doesn't usually come from bad code or broken machinery. The friction comes from an email sent by an international team that reads as overly aggressive because they used the wrong idiom.
That makes so much sense.
The university knows that if they graduate brilliant engineers who communicate like Sato, those engineers will fail in the global market. They are actively selecting for adaptable problem solvers.
The ultimate takeaway here is that language is not a sterile exchange of data packets. It is a biological exchange of culture. Every phrase we use carries the invisible history, the biases, and the social contracts of the people who speak it.
Right. And when we strip away that historical and cultural context in a misguided attempt to be purely literal or sincere, we don't expose the truth, we actively distort it.
Yeah, Sato's rigid adherence to literal honesty transformed an eager recruitment pitch into an aggressive, wildly inappropriate fever dream.
It is a vital lesson whether you are negotiating a multinational merger, traveling abroad, or, just trying to decode a weird Slack message from a new coworker. You cannot just translate the vocabulary. You have to translate the intent.
The dictionary gives you the boundaries of the puzzle, but the actual picture is constructed in the negative space between the words.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
As we close out this deep dive, there is one final, highly provocative thought hidden in the source material that we really need to examine. It comes back to Dr. Emily Carter's highly specific occupation.
Oh, this is the best part.
She isn't just an engineer, she optimizes large language models. She works on the absolute bleeding edge of artificial intelligence.
The precise mathematical systems designed to bridge the gap between human syntax and machine comprehension.
Right. So run this thought experiment. Imagine if Sato, realizing he was completely out of his depth with the CDO's bizarre "I want her head" directive, pulled out his phone. Imagine he opened an app powered by one of Emily's own cutting-edge LLMs, typed in the Japanese idiom, and asked the machine to translate it into English for a corporate recruitment meeting.
Wow, that introduces a fascinating variable.
Would the AI have possessed the pragmatic competence to recognize the cultural trap? Like, would the algorithms have flagged the idiom, scrubbed the violence, and offered a safe, localized English phrase like, "Our CEO is incredibly eager to bring you onto our team"?
Or
would the machine, despite billions of parameters and endless training data, have fallen into the exact same semantic trap as the human salesman?
it's a chilling thought.
Would the most advanced technology on Earth have confidently instructed Sato to walk up to a world-class scientist and demand her head?
It really forces us to ask whether cultural intuition is something we can actually compute, or if the nuances of human interaction will always remain stubbornly, uniquely human.
It is a question the engineers at Neuron Forge and developers around the world are still trying to answer. Until next time, keep diving deep.